Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Travel Market Life. And we've been exploring staffing and recruitment in hospitality as part of a mini-series. Today we're going to be speaking to Richard Bodin, Director of Travel Services for Match Hospitality, that operate hospitality events all over the world. While they have a core group of experts, they source people to bring hosts, waitstaff, caterers and managers as required for each event. Richard has spent the past 35 years working within the travel industry across EasyJet, Virgin, Jet2, TUI and Oman Air. Most recently, he oversaw Match providing critical support for the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, delivering one of the largest and most challenging hospitality programs.
Travel Market Life.
Hi Richard, thanks ever so much for joining us today. So working on FIFA must have been a really fascinating project. So to start with, when looking at such a broad program, how do you assess the human resources required to create a staffing strategy?
Well, thank you very much, Ryan. It's great to be on today. I would say that the staffing is an integral part of our planning process that started many, many years before the actual event itself. There are substantial departmental requirements in terms of staffing. So whilst we have a core sort of 250 members of staff that work throughout the year on permanent contracts with Match, the increase of staff requirement to the point of service delivery goes from that core 250 all the way up to close to 10,000 staff. So you can appreciate that that's a huge amount of people to employ, to in some cases provide uniforms for, certainly training and so on, and then in this particular case bring into the country and all the logistics around that. It's a considerable effort.
Absolutely interesting, really, as you say, looking at all the different dynamics and logistics required to get staffing into different regions or cities in order to be able to cater the event. Now, I mean, as we know, staffing and recruitment in hospitality has been particularly challenging since the pandemic. Where are you particularly seeing hospitality struggling to recruit staff? Are there any particular areas within hospitality that are really hard to recruit for?
Well, Match has been established for some significant period of time. And one of the characteristics of the company is that we build very long-term, deep relationships with suppliers. We approach challenges very much in a sort of partnership mentality. And so we were able to use those extended relationships to help bring those staff planning decisions into the thinking at the very earliest point and work with our suppliers to ensure that they were aware of the sort of requirements that we had and could obtain and access the staff that we needed for the World Cup. So we've really benefited, I think, from those long-term relationships where both sides have really enjoyed working with each other. And so that's been key. But obviously, in terms of the point of delivery, we had hostesses that we needed to recruit. We had a significant amount, of catering staff. We're talking many thousands of staff all the way through from the sort of back kitchen all the way through to the delivery. And we also built incredible facilities on the ground here. And to give you an example, we built 42,000 square meters worth of temporary structures just to deliver our product. So you can appreciate that takes a vast amount of resources, both local and international.
When recruiting in the UK, are you finding that it's as easy to be able to fulfill the needs for your partners, or are you actually having to have conversations with them to look at how you can best resource so you've got the right level in order to cater for the event without necessarily the guests or the delegates noticing any of these staff shortages?
Well, it wasn't just the UK that we were recruiting from. I know, for example, that our hostesses, for example, we had 700 hostesses within our team. They came from 20 different countries. So it isn't necessarily just the UK that we're recruiting in. It's all the way across the world. We have not just the companies that we have long-term relationships with. We also work with staff that enjoy working with us and want to come back when the next event is on. Putting to one side the sheer excitement and euphoria that you would associate with being part of the World Cup final, and one of the most remarkable World Cup finals. Putting that to one side, I think we have a policy where we use both extrinsic and intrinsic rewards to really engender that sort of relationship with the staff. So we pay well. I understand we pay marginally over the average or the market average. We certainly recognise and reward success and achievement, and we'll have regular hostess of the day or catering staff of the day or the week or the event or what have you, and we'll put some big prizes behind those awards and recognition. And we do try and build a very communicative environment whereby staff feel that they're aware of what's going on, their voice is heard. So it's as far as we can get, given that the temporary nature of the way we employ them. But we do work as hard as we can to ensure that that the staff really enjoy working for us and indeed want to come back for more.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen, the impact of Brexit and not being able to get such staff from Europe, particularly for some of these short-term contracts, has been particularly difficult for UK businesses. So when you're actually doing events that are hosted in the UK and working with those partners here, you've got obviously some great initiatives lined up there where you are paying above the average and you are looking at being able to reward and recognise those staff that are delivering and performing at the level that you need them to. But is there other ways and other thoughts that UK companies and hospitality businesses need to be thinking about in order to really attract the right people?
I think we're lucky that we are involved in some headline grabbing activities and events. We're preparing now very hard for the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, for example. So there's naturally going to be an attraction for staff that work within hospitality to be involved in such blue ribbon type events. So at Match Hospitality, we're very lucky that our broad product offering encapsulates such significant events.
Is it a matter as well, when you're providing these sort of staff and people resources, that you also look to harnessing technology where possible to make those efficiencies and maybe reduce the impact on staff resourcing?
I think there are opportunities, although perhaps somewhat limited in terms of other industries. There's no way that I can think of replacing a fabulous host or hostess welcoming you to a stadium or to an event and showing you to your table and so on and so on. So it's hard to see how you could cut those down. But certainly in terms of information provision, booking, we've developed a fabulous website. In fact, the last World Cup, we had 24 million page views on our hospitality website. We have developed an app which will allow for customers to access information when they're on the ground in situ, so they can find out where the latest parties are or who's playing at this particular VIP event or what have you. So information provision, of course, is now increasingly digitized. But at the point of service delivery, I think increasingly it's still going to be a sort of human resource heavy requirement.
So no place for waiter robots just yet?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Now, there's a lot of talk about the need maybe for hospitality to change its culture, change the perspective on how it values staff. What do you think needs to be addressed, particularly by hospitality businesses, to start attracting the right people?
Well, and I would look to the characteristics that Match Hospitality currently enjoys. As I said, big world-leading events that we enjoy delivering hospitality for, maintaining very high standards, which means the customers keep coming back, which means that we have more event opportunities to offer to our staff, and to the temporary staff that we use. And as I say, those relationships with the agencies that we use and have done so for decades.
Wonderful. Richard, thank you ever so much for joining me today and sharing your insights and expertise.
Thank you very much.
So that was Richard Bodin, the Director of Travel Services for Match Hospitality, looking at the need to staff and resource large events across the world and how they go about doing that. Please explore more of our episodes on travelmarket.life and the other parts of the mini-series looking at staffing and recruitment in hospitality.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.